Hi everybody. This episode is dedicated towards the South African Koi Keeper Society Bloemfontein show. And what we want to do is showcase to you, we're in studio as you can see. And what we're going to do is we are going to take you through the idea of how a koi show happens. For those of you that are new to koi fish, you'll be able to get a very good idea. Next time there is a koi show, you can see it. But also, this has been live streamed, so you are able to have a look at that as well, but in length. But this is a condensed version of the Bloemfontein show. So right, whilst we're in studio, as I said, what we're going to be doing is we're going to just start off by, on the Friday, there's what they call a benching process. And what happens is that every entrant that has their koi fish, they then transport them and then they bring them to the site. Now the site has already been prepared with portable ponds, set up with oxygen and so forth, and they've tested the water. In this instance it was boil water, which is really very good for a show, and constant boil water to refresh the water as and when required. So with the result is that what is benching? Benching is really where the judge, the chief judge, would, as the fish arrives in transit, would then bag the fish, unbag the fish, and put the fish in the water, and then would size the fish and also categorize the fish. Now there are various varieties of koi fish. So what happens is that he would earmark, for instance, he'll say this is a kohaku and it is 20 centimeters or 50 centimeters. So they got to be accurate on that. Now each entrant has photographs of their fish so that the judges are able to make sure that it is the right fish, and then what they do is they mark on the back that it is a kohaku, for instance, and at 55 centimeters. That's important because it then gets categorized in the various size categories. So right, once that has happened on the Friday, then what happens on Saturday morning, the judges arrive and they then start doing a review. They walk around and have a look and exercise their minds just in terms of what is available. And then what they do is they go down to specifics. Now, what happens first and foremost is they get the reserve grand champion, the reserve champion, and the grand champion. They then do that first, because that is ultimately the first and second prize of the show, the big prizes. So once they've got rid of that, they don't publicize it. They only wait and do that on the prize giving. But then it's a whole day process where they go to each and every fish and net it, bowl it, and have a look at the quality and discuss and then debate about what position that fish should take. First place, second place, and so forth. Then what we do is on the Saturday evening, after the judging has taken place, then it is more a relaxed environment where they then have they have a function, and that's normally dedicated towards that particular chapter, in this instance Bloemfontein show, and it is really a fundraiser. So it's a lot of fun elements where they have from koi fish right through to koi caps, koi shirts, koi jackets, koi memorabilia. The badges is a very sought after thing where around the world collectors collect, and they basically get that to auction off so that they can raise funds. So after that, pleasantries has happened, then on the Sunday morning, that's when the formal prize giving gets taken place. The honor is bestowed on the grand champion. In this instance, it is Mr. Hannes van Aswegen that won grand champion at this show, and he gets an opportunity to speak. And we've done an interview with him as well. We've had that fortunate opportunity to do that, to explain how he got there and what it takes to be a grand champion. Okay, as you know, the prize giving has been handed out. It's happened, and now it's time that we speak to a champion. You know, ever so often a person arrives in a hobby such as koi, and so many people look up to a champion like Hannes. And I saw that just now, whilst everybody was busy, there was a comment of one of the visitors that came along and looked at Hannes's grand champion and said, one day. And that's what it's all about. It's the inspiration that a champion gives to everybody else to want to have koi fish and to enjoy the hobby the way it should be, because it's a family hobby as well. Hannes, I don't know where to begin when I have a look at so many awards that you've got. It's absolutely fantastic. But also, you know, you're a role model to me as well, and to many, many people around the country. And we greatly appreciate the dedication that you've put into this hobby. It's absolutely fantastic, and a legacy that you're building. Let's talk a little bit about the Grand Champion. What does it take to get to this level?
Kevin, I think it's a lot of everyday work, looking at your pond, absolute key is your water quality. As you know, you've been to my pond a few times with visits, and to make sure that your fish is always parasite free, and then obviously feed the best food like Hikari. That's our only feed Hikari, and that gives me tremendous results.
Okay. And obviously every champion has a secret. But if you can give some advice to a person that is wanting to grow a fish that size, what would you say is the most important thing apart from a good quality food? What would you say that's the first thing that they must have a look at?
I think the first thing is absolutely look at the bloodlines, look at where the parents comes from and the sizes that they've grown. And when you look at a fish, when you choose it inside a pond, you look at the shirway first, the white. So if there's 100 fish in a pond, you look at the fish with the best white.
Right.
And that's where you start. And then you start sorting them out like that. And you take the 3 or 4 that you look that have the best white and the best pattern. And then you look at all the other criteria on the fish. And then when you know the parents, you know that fish has the ability to get to a size. And I think that is the key to buy this fish, especially Gosanki.
Yeah. And you've also now spoken about parent, which and you've also got an award for locally bred as well.
Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. A local guy here, Koya Jungle, France, he has bred those fish, and I had this argument with the guys regarding the food issue for a long time. And that was now the proof that those fish can compete with overseas fish if you feed them and give them the same conditions as what we give our top koi. And that is what's been proven. And that is stunning quality fish.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
It just shows you that with good bloodline, you can have a success. Do you prefer to purchase fish at a Tautokoi stage? In other words, at a Nisai, or do you balance right throughout?
Kevin, I buy jumbo Tosai very often. And there's quite a few of them at the show now that's been grown out to 76, 80 cm. But I think I prefer the Nisai because it saves you a bit of time to get to the bigger sizes and to be a competitive koi if you're serious about showing. So for me, the Nisai is the challenge to get them then to Gosai and to competitive level.
Okay. Let's talk about the Grand Champion. The breeder?
The breeder is Momotaro. It's been brought in by WCB, Michael Siegel. In fact, he's bought quite a few of these koi from Tosai. I was with him in Japan as well. And the reserve champion that's here was chosen, and I still have a Sankey that me and Taniguchi are actually having a competition. That one is in Askuri, and I'm actually competing against him with this koi this year that's won the reserve champion. So that is quite nice when you get to know the breeders.
Yes.
And you can have personal interaction with them. Even if they're in Japan, you still have interaction with them on Facebook or WhatsApp sometimes.
Yes, yes. Well, Hannes, I don't know if there's anything else that you want to say about your grand champion.
No, I just think it's a privilege to own a fish like that, and the big challenge is to keep them alive as long as possible. That's,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
But Hannes, once again, it just shows your love and your passion for koi, and we appreciate it very, very much. And once again, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
There you are, folks. You've heard from an expert. So for those that are starting up, just have a look through the videos that we've sent through, and you'll be able to speak to the local koi experts. But you've heard it from a champion exactly where to start and what advice. So thanks very much. Thanks for watching. So if you want to have a look a little bit more on the sessions that have been recorded live stream, they are still available, and if you want to have a look at that, just go on to We Are Centurion, and you can go and have a look under Koi Medic, and you'll find all of the sessions at length for your leisure. So that in a nutshell is what the show entails. Also, a very, very important thing is then on the Sunday morning before the prize giving, all the judges get together and they do a presentation on the reserve champion and the grand champion. They discuss and share with the public, which we will be sharing with you as well, the positives about the fish, why that fish was selected, and why it merited that particular prize. Reserve and then grand champion. Grand champion, obviously, they put more focus on because that's the ultimate prize. So come along with us and have a look and see. You'll be able to pick up some really, really good tips on what the judges look at. So in future, when you want to choose a fish, remember everything that they judge on is above the lateral line. In other words, when you're looking down in a pond, that is what they judge. They don't judge what's under the belly, for instance.
Morning, good morning, welcome. We've just had a very successful Free State 2021 koi show. It's our first koi show in South Africa virtually in over 2 years with the virus. So very well done to Free State on managing to put this koi show together. As you can see, we have hygiene between all the ponds to prevent any contamination. We had the koi show yesterday, quite an involved, lengthy day of all the judges walking around, comparing all the koi in their different categories and varieties and sizes. The first thing the judges do at the beginning of the day is they go around and they pick about 5 nominations of the biggest and what we consider the best koi in the koi show. Normally from the size 9, the biggest size, over 75 centimeters. We then go and deliberate at length, and we come back and look at least 3 or 4 times. We narrow it down, and then we look at have a big discussion again on the merits and demerits of the koi. This pond here has we have the second best koi in the koi show, the reserve grand champion. It's an 82 centimeter, what we refer to as a Mariten Kohaku. It's a 3-step, which we call a Sandan pattern. Kohaku are basically a white-based fish with a red pattern. We call the red, we refer to it as he or Benny. This koi has a phenomenal body. The biggest point on judging is the body. The most points we award for that in our judging criteria. Then we go into the quality. The quality is overall in all the different colors, the skin, etc. And then we go onto the pattern as well. That's not all about pattern. We look at lastly the finishing on the koi, which is on the day. We're judging on the day as the koi presents. So it may be in a better condition on the day or not. And the luster of the koi, the shine on the skin, etc. We're just going to try and lift the koi a little bit. We don't really bowl these big koi, obviously, to prevent any damage. And this is as far as we go, just to raise the koi so that we get a better viewpoint of the koi. I'm just going to ask for a few comments from the fellow judges. I'll start with Mark Harvey on the right here. He's one of our two certified judges in South Africa. And Mark, just a few comments where we started with the body on the koi.
Yeah, one of the most important aspects of judging is the body shape. We give 40% of the marks, theoretical marks, to body. This koi has a really beautiful body, beautiful symmetry from the head down, very thick peduncle. So from a body shape, can't fault it. Then we look at the quality of the he, the shiroji or the white or the red, and that we allocate a theoretical 30 points to. And this koi has beautiful he and shiroji. You can see the white very strong. Then we go to pattern. 20% goes to pattern, and we look at the characteristics of each variety and what that pattern should be. We like to see pattern on the head, body, right through to the tail, and its balances. This one particularly has what we call a meritin, the he marking on the head, and a similar marking right at the back, which actually balances it out nicely. That's pattern, and then 10% theoretical goes to what we call state of finish. That's the luster, how well developed the he is, and obviously this koi has a beautiful finish as well, and a well-deserved reserve grand champion.
Okay. Chaps, gentlemen, to get a koi to this state of finish at this size, I know the owner, Mr. Hannes van Asperken, bought this koi from a koi farm called Taniguchi Koi Farm in Japan. I've been fortunate to go there on a number of occasions. He's a fantastic koi breeder. He was described by a man who we refer to as Kaito-san. He's now deceased. He was a past chairman of our World Koi Organization, ZNA. And he described Yuichi Taniguchi as the young hope breeder of Japan for its future of koi breeding. So he highly respected the gentleman where Hannes obtained this fish, and he's grown it on substantially, Hannes. So it speaks volumes to the koi keeping ability of Mr. Hannes van Asperken. That means that his pond situation is perfect, his filtration, his water quality, his feeding regime, and his very careful observation of the koi on a daily basis to check if it's developing any viruses or sicknesses or any damage. And then, of course, he had to transport these koi all the way from Vryburg, which is no easy task, and to get it here and present it in this state of finish is a hang of achievement. I'll just ask Harry Becks, our other certified judge, just a few comments on the presence of this koi. We also look at the presence in the pond.
Hi, Mike has alluded to the pattern and the balance. The Meritin Pahaku is one of the most difficult to achieve. It has to be born like that. You can't make it like that. And it's rare, very, very rare.
So we can't really see it swimming here, but I think Harry also alluding to the way it swims. In the pond, it's got quite a presence. You see it's got a very powerful body. We also look at the tail piece of if a koi has a beautiful front part, but the tail is very thin, then obviously it lets it down and it makes it not look in proportion. This has got a very powerful overall body with a very thick, what we call the peduncle at the tail.
And it's 82 centimeters.
82 centimeters, yeah. It's still a relatively young koi, so this koi will probably still grow anything up to another 10, 15 centimeters. And I look forward to hopefully seeing it at a show again in future. Anybody else would like to say something here?
That's an absolutely incredible fish, and yet it's not the best fish on show. It's the second best, as a reserve grand champion. The main champions in that pod.
If everyone's happy, should we move over to the main koi in the show? Any questions?
On this fish.
All happy. We're going to move over there. Chaps, here we have the pond of the the best fish in the koi show. Koi show is Free State Koi Show 2021. This is just under 90 centimeters, so it's quite substantially bigger than our reserve grand champion. And again, I think we've just discussed, the first thing we look at is the body and the big fish and the presence. And if you look in this pond and you look at this fish, it's a massive body and a massive presence in the pond. I'm going to hand over to Mike Harvey here just to say a few things on how we deliberated between these two koi and reached this decision that this was slightly better than the other koi in the other pond.
Right. Well, I think the body shapes are both excellent. What you might notice is that the Grand Champion has a slightly different hue of red, the he, to the Reserve Grand Champion. It's a slightly more orangey tinge, but what we look for is the thickness and quality and the edge, what we call kiwa, which is the back end of the red pattern of the scales. There it has good definition, and again, very good white. Often you find on large koi like these that the head can tend to be a little bit creamy or yellow. And if you look at this, an 89 centimeter fish, and look at the whiteness on the head, it's really impressive. So yeah, again, all the body shape issues. One of the things we also always look at body shape is the pectoral fins, which we mustn't forget. We like to have nice rounded pectoral fins at the edges rather than what we call sickle-shaped fins. And again, beautiful finnage and very little, if anything, to fault on this koi. Really beautiful.
Just to add, interesting guys, when we consider the pattern in a koi does not have to be symmetrical. As you can see here, the red he pattern is almost asymmetrical. The biggest point with the pattern is that it balances down the koi. So we'll start from the front, from the head, and look how your eye is drawn all the way down the koi because of the balance to the pattern, be it an asymmetrical pattern. It pulls your eye straight from the nose. It's complemented by the white in the front, and then you get all your red wrapping patterns going all the way down like a stepping pattern, but large red markings which are much more impressive than small little markings, very bold. And then right at the back, of course, there's a break before the tail with white again to complement and enhance. And obviously the Sirajji, which is the white skin, is also enhanced by the strength of the red he patterns, the consistency and the sharpness of the red at the back, the kiwa, and on the front of the red where it underlies the white scales, there's very little bleeding red or beni, which we call sashi. So the koi is very well finished in terms of overall appearance. This koi was a Momotaro Koi Farm bred koi, which is another very large koi farm in Japan. Daisuke is the chap there, Daisuke-san, and they're not only famous for their amazing koi, but equally they have one of the best luxury sports car outlets in Japan. So they not only have Bugatti sports cars, but virtually Bugatti koi as well. So it's quite a privilege to go there. It backs onto a very big river in Japan, and the koi farm itself is massive. They've got a 1 million litre koi show pond inside one of their halls inside, which is, you have to visit it if you go to Japan. It's quite amazing. Harry, would you like to say anything on the koi overall?
One of the amazing parts about the fish we have here and the quality is that a little town like Bloemfontein, it has suddenly blossomed from being a tiny little show to a substantial show. I mean, fish like this, you don't see at every koi show. Also, people come from far and wide, and there's something for everybody. You know, for the small koi keeper, for the big koi keeper, they all compete equally. Yeah.
Again, sorry, this is also owned by Mr. Hannes van Asvik, and so he's done extremely well. Best koi in the show and the second best koi. So a massive kudu to Hannes.
one of the things I just wanted to mention, if you look at this Grand Champion, look at the shape of the head and how beautiful, it's not a sharp point, it flows beautifully from the front right across without having a pinched nose, or this head often in big koi tends to be slightly smaller than desired, whereas this koi has really beautiful lines with the head flowing straight through to the body. Very impressive. Sorry, carry on.
Chaps, if anybody would like to ask us, any of the public here, any questions, you're welcome to. I think if we've got a bit of limited time, but
Can I ask a question?
certainly.
From a judging perspective,
Thank you.
how do the judges deal with he in the dorsal fin?
In the dorsal fin.
Yes.
Okay, I'll let Mike explain, but obviously on the size of the koi comes into it.
Yeah. Obviously, if it's the whole dorsal, ideally the dorsal should be white. Start off from there. Bleeding into the dorsal is I won't say a serious demerit, because it's not a serious demerit, but it is a demerit when you're judging. But particularly in a smaller fish, it would be more of a serious demerit than in a fish. You know, you cannot expect perfection in any fish. So yes, we'd like to have seen a purely white there, but it's almost irrelevant in a fish this size.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. I think also the white line, if you look at the line of the fish, the white from the head going through, and you look at the dorsal, there may be he bleeding in slightly, but it's still got the overall white line right down, including most of the dorsal. So it's not a major detraction. If you look, the koi is so big and of such a good quality, it almost fades into insignificance, the tiny bit of red that's in there. And where it is, it's pretty much in one sort of, it's quite strong in one pattern, and it's not untidy or with the little streaks or anything like that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Basically, I see it follows up from a dam,
absolutely.
not out of Shira.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Any other questions, chaps?
Yeah.
Jim?
So I just wanted to reiterate a point that I think Harry made earlier, that the overall quality of the fish at this show is astounding. And the Free State chapter is not one of SACS's biggest chapters. It's not the biggest chapter, but it has put on a tremendous show with tremendous quality fish. And the fish, the koi that came second here would win at many shows. And this Grand Champion would probably win at shows around the world. This would be in contention.
100%.
It's such a high quality of fish at this show.
Any more questions?
Any other questions, chaps?
Okay.
All right, so, I think that concludes our discussion on the Grand Champion 2021, and we'll hand back to the chaps at the interviewer, Kevin Till.
Dean, I think
Yeah.
we can all just give a round of applause for these beautiful fish.
100%.
And as I said a couple of times on the show and during the show, you know, we can't possibly have a koi show without judges. It's a critical part, and we learn all the time from you, and we're so grateful. So thank you very much.
Thank you. It's only our pleasure.
I think I'd